As we now approach the end of the 2024 college football regular season, players have either improved or kept their draft stock or have completely fallen apart. In today's video, I want to talk about the top draft prospect from each and every SEC school right now, talk about who they are, why they are so hyped up, and where I expect them to end up going. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about the top draft prospect from every SEC school. Okay, so I'm going to first start out with the Alabama Crimson Tide. After becoming a 4-star recruit in high school, Jalen Miller was a backup for a couple of years to Bryce Young before taking over in 2023. He threw for 2,800 yards and 23 touchdowns last year, but currently in 2024 has exploded. He's over 2,000 yards, completes 67% of his passes, has 13 passing touchdowns, and 16 rushing scores. Milroe has a rocket for an arm, he's super athletic, has won a lot of big games, and looks like he'll be a first-round quarterback draft pick. Alabama also has a couple of other talented players, but Milroe is probably the best prospect on the team right now. The cupboard feels really bare right now at Auburn, and their best draft prospect in my opinion is probably Keandre Lambert-Smith. He's not really listed anywhere, but he's had a really spectacular season, as after spending 4 years at Penn State, he transferred down to the Plains and has currently caught 34 passes for 657 yards and 7 touchdowns. Lambert-Smith has had an efficient year despite having a terrible quarterback and not having a very good offense, so I honestly think he'll end up being a day 2 pick. And Auburn fans, if I'm wrong about this one, please let me know down below if you guys have a better draft prospect, as I really don't know what is going on. A little while ago, I would have thought LSU's biggest draft prospect would have been Harold Perkins, but right now it looks like Will Campbell could be the highest rated guy for the LSU Tigers. At 6'6", he's a true junior from Monroe, Louisiana, and plays offensive tackle. At 6'6" and 323 pounds, this guy has been incredible the last couple of years, as he was a first-team All-SEC selection in 2023, a freshman All-American in 2022, and was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. Will Campbell right now is seen as the top dog for LSU and is ranked as the 6th overall prospect with a 99% chance to go in the first round. Some think he's the top offensive lineman in this year's draft class, but that's where we get to the next guy, Kelvin Banks Jr. He, in my opinion, is Texas's biggest draft prospect, even bigger than Quinn Ewers, as Kelvin Banks has been hyped up for 3 straight years now. He was in the same class as Will Campbell, and coming out of Humble, Texas, the 6'4", 320-pound phenom decided to go to the Longhorns as a 5-star and has started the last 3 years for them. This guy is an absolute monster, as he's gotten pretty much every award. PFF is currently in love with him, and Banks is seen as the 8th overall prospect in the class of 2025 and a consensus top 10 pick. Him and Campbell were great coming out of high school and have lived up to their hype in their 3 years in college so far. I could be dead wrong, but I feel like Vanderbilt's top NFL draft prospect is Eli Stowers. Coming out of high school, Eli Stowers was a 4-star quarterback recruit who decided to go to Texas A&M, but after not working out there, he would transfer to New Mexico State. He eventually got benched in favor of Diego Pavia, and instead of pouting, he moved to tight end where it worked out really good for him at New Mexico State. He then followed his coach back to Vanderbilt, where so far this year, Stowers has caught 42 passes for 557 yards and 4 touchdowns, and is one of the top, if not the top tight ends in the SEC right now. Stowers is still in the running for the John Mackey Award, and right now he's currently projected to go in the 6th round, but I could see him as a guy who flies up draft boards this spring and goes in the 3rd or 4th round. Up next for Oklahoma, we have to talk about Billy Bowman. Going back in time, Bowman was a huge deal coming out of Texas, as he originally committed to the Longhorns but would eventually flip to Oklahoma near the end of it, and was a borderline 5-star recruit. Bowman was given a significant amount of hype when he arrived at Oklahoma, and so far his time in Norman has been a success, as he has 116 tackles, 12 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, and 11 interceptions, 3 of which have become pick sixes. Bowman is extremely athletic, is a hard hitter, and in my opinion is the top prospect for the Sooners. He's currently a projected 4th round pick and a top 100 prospect, but I could see him as a guy who also flies up, as I think he's one of the better safeties in college football. It's no secret Kentucky's had a disappointing season so far in 2024, but someone who's been a bright spot for them has been their defensive lineman Deon Walker. Going back in time, Walker went to the prestigious Cass Tech High School in Detroit, and so far has been pretty crazy in his couple of years at Kentucky. Walker is a 6'6" monster defensive tackle, and playing against SEC offensive lines, he's been very disruptive. In total, he has 127 tackles in 3 years, 6 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, and 10 sacks. Before the season started, Walker was being given first-round hype, and currently, according to NFL Mock Database, he's a projected first-round pick and the 24th overall prospect. Kentucky always seems to have these good defensive players like Josh Allen and Jamin Davis, and now it looks like Deon Walker is next in line. Like Auburn, I struggled to find a really big draft prospect from Mississippi State, but in my opinion, Kevin Coleman Jr. is probably the top guy. Coming out of St. Louis High School, Coleman was at one point a 5-star recruit, but slipped to a 4-star and would arrive at Jackson State for his first year of college football. He caught 33 passes there before transferring to Louisville in 2023, but he was stuck in sort of a logjam there and transferred to Mississippi State in 2024. I made a video calling him a bust this past summer, but he has definitely proved me wrong, as this year on a terrible Mississippi State team, Coleman has 62 catches for 756 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's a world-class athlete playing on a bad team and is still managing to put up good stats, so if Coleman declares for the 2025 NFL Draft, I expect him to be a mid-round prospect. The Texas A&M Aggies have enjoyed a good first season under Mike Elko, and part of that is because of their good defense, and Nick Scorton is a big reason for that. Coming out of Bryan High School, Scorton originally did not get a Texas A&M offer that he desperately wanted. His last name was also at one point Caraway, so I'm not sure what happened, but he eventually committed to Purdue as a top 200 recruit in the class of 2022. He would then have a breakout season in 2023 for the Boilers, but would transfer back to his favorite school, Texas A&M, for 2024, and so far, he has been pretty good. He has 27 tackles, 2 pass deflections, 5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. He's got crazy athleticism, and many scouts believe he's barely scratched the surface for his potential. He's currently ranked as the 15th overall prospect in the 2025 draft class, and is a projected first-round draft pick. Nick Scorton's a crazy defensive end and has a crazy story. Georgia is always loaded in terms of NFL talent, and Malachi Starks is next in line. After becoming a 5-star recruit out of the state of Georgia, Malachi Starks ended up staying home with the Bulldogs and impressed in his very first game against Oregon, having that crazy interception. Starks is one of the most athletic players we've ever seen on defense, and in total in his 3 years at Georgia so far, he has 170 tackles with 15 pass deflections and 6 interceptions. Starks is currently listed as the 13th overall draft prospect, and is probably going to end up going in the top 10 when it's all said and done. This guy has crazy out-of-this-world athleticism, and has been a joy to watch these last 3 years. For some reason, Florida is just not able to produce big-time draft prospects right now, as according to my research, it looks like Jason Marshall Jr. is the top guy for them. I remember he was a big deal coming out of high school. He has been really solid. In 4 seasons, he's registered 98 total tackles with 1 forced fumble, 2 interceptions, and 26 pass deflections. 2023 was his best year, but teams really aren't throwing the ball his way. According to NFL Mock Database, he's currently projected as the 4th-round pick and is the 120th overall prospect. Again, I feel like he's one of those guys who's going to end up going a lot higher. There could be a higher ranked draft prospect for the Gators, but I don't know who it is. Another big time player whose stock is actually starting to fall is Luther Burden III. Coming out of East St. Louis High School, he was a 5-star superstar, and instead of going to Oklahoma, he would flip to Mizzou, and has started the last 3 years for the Tigers. His best season came last year as he ended up having 86 catches for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns, but this year the offense has struggled and Brady Cook has been on and off hurt, so Burden's numbers have fallen. He's currently only caught 45 passes for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Theo Weiss has seemingly become the #1 guy for the Tigers. He still has 176 catches for 2,000 yards and 19 touchdowns, and combining his crazy athleticism and vision, and just overall playmaking ability, Burden is considered a first-round pick, but has fallen from potentially going in the top 5 to now just being in the top 15 to top 20. He's still Mizzou's best draft prospect by far, and is an uber-talented player who will have a lot of success in the NFL. For Arkansas, I didn't exactly know who to go with, but no matter what, his last name was going to be Jackson. It was either going to be Jaquindon Jackson or Landon Jackson, but I'm ultimately going to go with Landon. Coming out of Texarkana, Texas, Jackson arrived at Arkansas in 2022, and so far in his 3 years has become a dominant pass rusher, finishing with over 102 tackles, 4 pass deflections, 14 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles in just 3 years. Jackson's got crazy athleticism and is currently listed as the 45th overall prospect in the 2025 draft class and is a projected 2nd-round pick. Arkansas has produced a couple of good defensive linemen over the years, and Landon Jackson is just next up for him. One of the more polarizing names so far has been James Pierce Jr. After becoming a 4-star recruit in the class of 2022, Pierce really broke out in 2023 with the Tennessee Volunteers, finishing with 27 tackles, 9.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles, and also a pick 6. Going into 2024, Pierce was seen as a top 5 and potential number 1 overall draft pick, but has been a little bit underwhelming. Yes, teams are going after him really hard now, but so far he has 27 tackles with 5.5 sacks and 1 forced fumble. His stats have fallen off a little bit, but that was also to be expected, and currently Pierce is listed as the number 11 overall prospect and has a good chance of being a top 10 pick. Tennessee has a lot of talented players, but Pierce seems to be the number 1 guy for them. For the South Carolina Gamecocks, they also have a defensive end who's wreaking havoc on college football. Going back in time, Kyle Kennard came out of Atlanta, Georgia, and has spent multiple years in college football so far. After originally being a part of Georgia Tech for 4 years, Kennard would transfer to South Carolina for his final year, and so far has been insane. He has 23 tackles, 1 pass deflection, 9.5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. Kennard has been one of the best linemen in the country, and is currently getting first-round hype. NFL Mock Database has him projected as a 3rd round pick, but in all the recent mock drafts I have seen, he's going in the late 1st or 2nd. In my opinion, that's where he will end up, and Kennard is a dominant player going under the radar. For Ole Miss, I wasn't sure if I should go for Walter Nolan or Jackson Dart. I ended up going for Nolan because the quarterback situation is always fluctuating and he gets talked about enough, but Walter Nolan was the number 1 recruit in the country at one point coming out of the state of Tennessee. He decided to go to Texas A&M and was a part of their crazy 2022 class, but was a little bit underwhelming there. He had 5 sacks and about 60 tackles in 2 years, but after entering the portal and becoming the number 3 overall prospect, he has so far had 31 tackles, 1 pass deflection, and 3 sacks, and with him being an interior lineman with insane athleticism and next level size, he's currently projected as a 1st round pick and the 29th overall prospect in the 2025 draft class. Nolan will definitely end up being in the 1st round or early 2nd, and could climb even higher if he finishes out the season strong. So yeah, today we talked about the top draft prospect from each and every SEC school, and if I got something wrong, be sure to let me know down below. Let me know what you think of these players, and also what topic should I do next in regards to the draft. I appreciate you guys checking out the video. Leave a like if you want to support my work, and check out all my other videos on the end screen, and I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.